A little while ago I received this vintage Victa 18 in quite a sad state of repair. I figured I'd try and get it going as is, but that proved to be a lot difficult task after finding that the bore, cylinder, rings, big end connecting rod and most of the major engine components were fairly worn out, so it was definitely due for a rebuild. A few months passed and I managed to find a spare dynamotor with a great piston, connecting rod and jug. I started by cleaning up the flywheel and removing 70 years of dust, grime, grass and oil off it. Then I proceeded to remove the rather hardened crank seal. I then went on to remove the spare crankshaft, removed the good piston from that crankshaft to give it a clean, and I also painted up the jug after removing the transfer ports and masking them off. I started by oiling most of the major engine components like the connecting rod and little end bush. Then I moved on to installing the new crank seals I got. I then prepped the surface for the transfer ports on the cylinder and then added a bit of gasket makeup. After that I then proceeded to sand both case halves on a flat surface with some 800 grit sandpaper. I then installed a new stud into the crankcase halve as the old one was all stripped out. After the gasket maker had started to skim over, it was time to put the transfer port covers back on. Clear out that bearing race and just drop it in. Look at that, perfect. Yeah, look at that, absolutely perfect. After the bearings were installed in the case, it was time to put the crankshaft in and bolt the two crankcase halves together. Then it was time to mate the piston to the connecting rod and put the gudgeon pin and gudgeon clips in place. Then the gaskets could go on and I could also give the piston a bit of a lube. So after compressing the piston rings and sliding the cylinder on, the top end was together and bolted down and the motor had great compression. There's really good compression. That should hopefully run. So after a final assembly, it was time to tickle the carburetor after putting the fuel tap on, then setting the throttle and pulling it till it went. Definitely sounds healthier. Hell yeah.
I'm assuming it's lost spark.
After playing around with the ignition system for quite some time, I ruled it down to either a faulty coil or faulty condenser, so I just ended up replacing the whole ignition system with a Series 70 Victa ignition coil and stator plate. Now with a running mower, we were able to strip down the base and give it a good clean and degreasing. Upon this cleaning and degreasing, I found that the body had quite a few cracks, so they're going to need to be drilled and filled to prevent further cracking. After all those cracks were filled in and the base was nice and smooth, with all the crevices and scratches filled in, we were able to move on to the fuel tank and stripping back many coats of wrong coloured Victa 18 paint. After this, the base fuel tank and cowl could be primed and painted. Now with the height adjustment attached and the wheels roughly put on place, just sitting there, we were able to drop the motor on. Then after the motor was dropped on, and then I could also put the muffler plate on the base and bolt the motor to the chassis. I then sanded down the classic Victa 18 logo and painted it in red. Now with the blade, bars, wheels properly fixed in place, the pull start pulley and the cowling put into place, it was time to give it a test start. Following the rather successful test start, it was able to get some new stickers, one for the fuel tank and one for the cowling. Here's some finalised cinematic footage of the mower.